Good evening, one and all. So, we welcome all of you to this learning session. So, we should never wasting time, we shall begin the session. So, we hand over this platform to Veeraraghavacharya ji for next 1 hour to get more insights. Thank you.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. श्रीवत्सवंशकलशोदधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघवगुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्या अवाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि. A very quick recap of what happened in the previous class. We saw some teachings of Tirumalai Alvar. We'll repeat them in very short after going through the other points. We saw an episode where the Alvar ran out of the Urdhva Pundra that is one on the forehead. You can see it in the image as well, right? He did not have the Urdhva Pundra, and Bhagavan himself revealed where to find it. Then we saw about his visit to Kanchipuram. He went to Kanchipuram, he went to a cave and lived there along with his Shishya, Kani Krishna, and he started performing meditation continuously. At that time, an old lady who happened to come by, she saw that two great saintly beings are here, one guru and his Shishya. She decided to perform service there. So she would bring flowers for worship and she would also clean the place. She did this for some amount of time. Eventually, the Alvar came out of his meditation and he saw the old lady. On seeing that she has served Bhagavan in this manner, he gave her a boon. By that boon, the lady, who was very old and weak and could not even stand straight properly, she turned into a beautiful young lady. This is the miracle that Alvar performed for her as an appreciation for her efforts. There is one thing that we should remember when we look at the story in this way, that the Alvar has given beauty and youthfulness back. Is it not a kind of materialistic thing to get? Being very youthful, being healthy, these are all physical features where we are improving. Ideally, we should seek improvement in the spiritual domain. If not spiritual, at least mental. If you're growing neither spiritually nor mentally, then the last one is physical growth. So, becoming better physically is considered the least important in Sanatana Dharma, because mental power is superior to physical power and spiritual power is superior to mental power. But we see here that the Alvar, okay, let us assume she asked for such a boon. She is an ordinary woman, she can ask for anything. Why should you grant such a thing? If you make her a youth, would she not again get into the problems of the younger people? Would she not forget bhakti? Would she not get carried away? That did not happen. The lady did not get carried away. Is it wrong to seek a healthy body? If we say that physical health is not so great, mental health is not so great, only spiritual knowledge is important, does it mean that we can completely ignore physical and mental health? That is not so. And that is something that we should understand properly before we proceed. We need to understand that this body has been given to us by Bhagavan. Right? We were born. We did not take the decision where we should be born, in whose body we should be born, who we should have as parents. We did not decide anything. All of these based on our karma, we have been born. Now, this body, we have a duty towards it. We have to maintain it. It is important to maintain the body. What about those saints who continuously performed tapasya without blinking, without breathing? They did not care about anything. They say Vishwamitra survived on air for several hundreds of years. How is that possible? No, for Vishwamitra, it is possible. He was qualified enough to perform a penance where he could sustain himself that way. If I am not qualified enough, then if I also try a great tapasya like Vishwamitra, if I decide that I want to become a Brahmarshi and I start imitating Vishwamitra, would I succeed? I would not succeed. It is not just that he performed tapasya and gained more spiritual power and abilities, it is also that he had the ability to undertake that. This ability is very important. This ability is a qualification. So, those who are qualified enough to undertake difficult spiritual tasks can undertake those difficult spiritual tasks. The Alvar was capable of continuously meditating, he did that. The old lady was not capable of doing that. Hence, she chose a different path. What is that different path? That different path is Bhagavata Kainkaryam. It is the path of doing service to Bhagavatas. That service to Bhagavatas, we see even in Ramayana, right? We see that Bharata performed Kainkarya, Lakshmana performed Kainkarya. Lakshmana directly did Kainkarya to Rama. Bharata did Kainkarya to Rama Paduka. But Shatrughna did Kainkarya to Bharata. So we say Shatrughna did Bhagavata Seva. That is also something that can very well be done. Service to saintly people, service to those who are always focused on Bhagavan, service to great bhaktas. That is also a very, very great thing to do. That would eventually give us considerable spiritual progress. So, whatever the lady was doing as a service, just offering flowers and sweeping the floor and cleaning it, that is not necessarily a very inferior thing. It might appear inferior, but it is not inferior at all. In Odisha, we see this. The great Maharaja, even today, when there is Rath Yatra, we see that the Raja comes and he takes the broom and he cleans. We see it live on TV, or if we go straight, we can see it live. Why? He does not think, I am a great Maharaja, why should I do this? He understands the greatness of doing service. Of course, he is doing service to Bhagavad Vigraha there, but that could be done by anybody else as well. By doing it himself, he is showing that he values the importance of that. That is what we are trying to convey. So, what the lady was doing, it was just an act of cleaning the place, yes, but it counts as a service to saintly people, service to the Alvar. That is extremely great. In fact, our Puranas say that Bhagavan is pleased by service to him, but is even more pleased by service to Bhagavatas. So, service to Bhagavatas is the easiest way to get spiritual progress, and that is what this lady had done. And to enable her to do it further, because she was very old and weak and there was a limitation set upon her by her body, the Alvar gave her a younger body with which she could perform greater seva. So it is not as though the lady would forget herself and move away. That if that is what happens, then what the Alvar gives would not be a boon, it would be a curse. But the Alvar has given a boon and therefore we understand it as the lady becoming young and beautiful and attractive, yes, and healthy, but she uses all of that for good purposes and remains devoted. So what happened with this lady? A king came by. He was passing by. He saw this lady. He at once fell in love with her and he decided to marry her. She had also not married anybody before. She thought, okay, fine, why not? This is part of the boon, she thought. And she got married and she became the queen. Now she has become the queen. She is living in the palace. She has all the benefits, but she is also side by side doing whatever service she can, which is much more than what she could do before, which is a great thing. Now, before proceeding further, let us quickly have a recap of the teachings of the Alvar that we saw in the previous class. One can get out of samsara sagara. One can get out of this punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam part by surrendering in Bhagavan. So bowing down to the Supreme Lord and having faith in his protecting power. If you don't even have faith, then you would not really want to do it. Even if you do by mistake, you get some phala. But when you know it well, you perform it well. And it is when you perform it well that you get the complete benefit. And this has been the case since forever. It is not from the time of Bhagavad Gita. Whatever Krishna says, it was valid from before that also. It is mentioned in the Vedas also. It is mentioned in Ramayana also. It is mentioned everywhere. So, what do we mean when we say that the Lord cannot be attained by human effort? Yes, we take the effort. We take the effort. But He is the one who pulls us towards Him. So it is not as though we try something and we get it. Oh, I did a great tapasya, I achieved this. No, it is not my achievement. Even when Ravana performed a tapasya to Brahma, Brahma appeared and gave a boon. In that way, it is Brahma who made Ravana powerful. So we should remember that. In the case of moksha, of course, Bhagavan gives us moksha. It is by his wish that we become eligible and we attain moksha. But when you say it is his wish, one more question might arise. What if he wishes otherwise? How could you say it is his wish? If everything is his wish, why should I do anything at all? He is anyway going to be partial. He will take whoever he wants. That is not so. It is not true that although we say that everything happens by the wish of Bhagavan, everything happens by the will of Bhagavan, it is Bhagavat Sankalpa. It does not imply that he is partial or that he randomly decides somebody to be qualified and somebody to be unqualified. That does not happen. Bhagavan has a quality called Satya Sankalpatva. Whatever he wants, it happens. There is no desire of his that does not get fulfilled. As a matter of fact, he does not have any desire because everything has already been fulfilled. Hence, we call him Avapta Samastakam. But because he willed that a certain procedure should be followed, that procedure is being followed and he willed it at time zero, a non-traceable period of the past. Maybe I should not say zero, maybe I should say minus infinity. That is what we mean when we say since forever. And since that time itself, so much time has passed. So much time has passed that we say almost infinite time has passed. Infinite couldn't have passed, we of course know, because infinity means there is no limit. But we do say that it is non-traceable and therefore called as infinity. That much time, we call it Anadi Kala. Anadi Kala means time without a beginning. So since that time itself, the rules set by Bhagavan are working fully. Which rules? A simple example, the law of karma. Like they say, paropakaraha punyaya papaya paripidanam. If you do good things, you get good results. If you do bad things, you get bad results. Since when did this start happening? This started happening since forever. This has been happening since forever. Likewise, surrendering to Bhagavan and attaining moksha, it has been happening since forever. So, we should understand that he has set rules. He has set rules that if you keep doing bad things, you will move away from him. If you do good things, you will get closer to him. If you have done enough good things as a phala, you will get to become a sanatani. You would get to learn more. When you learn more, you would practice more. When you practice more, you would realize that you have to surrender to him. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. You would understand that statement. When you understand that and finally perform that surrender, Bhagavan will accept the surrender and grant moksha. That is how we should take it. So it is not a random thing that he does. He selects based on proper criteria which are 100% fair, 100% unbiased. So it is by his sankalpa that a devotee becomes eligible for mukti. Yes, but he has already revealed what would make a person eligible for mukti. When would I be pleased with a devotee? Bhagavan has already answered it. So you follow whatever is righteous, you avoid whatever is wrong, you have faith that he would protect. All of that, if you show, you would go in that path. And the very purpose of a jiva is to attain moksha. That implies that we have to surrender to him completely and be devoted to him at all times. So the act of declaration, the act of surrendering, all of that would help us to get out of ahankara and mamakara. And eventually, we would live life the way Bhagavan wants us to live. That is the perfect way. And when we live in the perfect way, is it really possible for a person to live perfectly before attaining moksha? That is another question. But yes, to the greatest extent possible, we would be able to live it. And when we do that way, we would attain moksha easily. Now, this lady has become the queen. She is doted on by her husband. He loves her very much. She is extremely attractive. He has never seen such a beautiful woman in his life. She is so beautiful that the day he saw her, he immediately decided she should be my wife. He did not ask her, what is your family? Who are your parents? What is your varna? Where do you come from? He did not ask her that. He directly proposed to her. She was that beautiful. And this king married her. She lived. A few years passed. Eventually, the king started getting older. His hair started graying, and then white hairs also increased. His body is becoming weaker than before. He is no longer as muscular as he was. He is realizing he is not as well built as he was before. He is realizing that these are the effects of aging. But he looks at his wife every day, and his wife looks the exact same every day. She does not even seem to age. It is as though she is an Apsara who has come from Devaloka, who has already drank the Amrita and become immortal, that she does not age at all. So he was very curious. How is this possible? I married her when I was young. I have grown old, but she is still so beautiful. I can understand if she dyes her hair, but what about her skin? What kind of treatment is she undergoing? She seems to be the exact same. Something, she has a secret. I need to learn. Maybe she is taking some secret medicine. Let me go and ask her. So the king decided to approach his beloved queen and he asked openly, what is the secret of your youthfulness? Why don't you share it with me? I am your husband. You're living with me and you will be continuing to live with me for the rest of your life. So why don't you share the secret with me so that I can also benefit from it? And she thought, why not? Why not share it? It is my husband after all. Yes, he might be having a selfish desire. It might be something materialistic that he is looking for. All of that is there. But when he asks, why don't you share it with me? She is not selfish. And due to the absence of selfishness, she openly says, she says, there is a great Kavi called Kani Krishna. He lives in that particular place. near the temple. You go there. Kani Krishna has a preceptor. He is a very great saint who performs meditation. That saint, that saint is the one who gave me this boon. By his wish, I instantly became young. I was also aging like you, but he stopped it at once and he even reversed it for me. And he stopped it further so that I would not age in the reverse direction beyond and become more childish. So I am at the most appropriate age and the most attractive form, all because of the blessings of this particular saint. And he is here only, he is living in your kingdom. So if you approach Kani Krishna, you could also definitely get the boon that you want. He thought, okay, if that is the case, let us go and let us try it for ourselves. As with all other stories where a second person tries to get what the first person gets naturally, we know what happens, right? The second person fails. But how he failed is the story we are going to see. So the king went, he met Kani Krishna. She had said he is a Mahakavi. The word Kavi in Sanskrit means a saintly person. It means poet. There are multiple meanings. Depending on the context, we understand the meaning. Now, she has told that this Kani Krishna is a Mahakavi. And he was a Mahakavi. He was a saintly person and he was a poet as well. The king goes there. He sees a person. He asks, are you Kani Krishna? He says, yes, I am. How may I help you? The king says, I am here to meet your guru. Why don't you bring your guru here? I want to see your guru. Kani Krishna got annoyed. My guru is so great. He is the saint of saints. He has humbled many saints before him. He has so much power, and yet he is so humble. He spends all of his time in doing meditation and praying to Bhagavan and singing his praises. That kind of a guru, one random guy who seems to be behind wealth, he comes and tells me, bring your guru to me. What kind of behavior is this? Kani Krishna got annoyed. But he did not say anything. The king then said, I've heard that you are a poet. So do one thing. Go and ask your guru to visit. And until he arrives here, you compose a poem in praise of me. I would like to hear a praise of me. It is the habit of kings, you know. If they find out that you are a good poet, they will say, sing a poem in praise of me. You compose a poem and tell them, they will reward you in plenty. They take it as a pastime. If you say, if they feel that a person has a special talent, they would ask them to show that talent to them and then reward the person very beautifully if they are pleased. This is the habit of kings. But sometimes this becomes an object of pure pleasure, right? I want to hear praises of myself. Let this person compose a poem and praise me. That is what all the other poets do. All of them come, they sing praises one after the other. They stand in a long line. They sing praises of me. And then I reward them heftily. He is a poet. What else will he do? He also looks very poor. Where is he living? It is not even a proper house. It is not even a house that he is living in. I can definitely help him. Let him sing a praise of me. In this manner, the king thought. We should remember what happened to Kani Krishna's guru when the Aghori came. The Aghori thought we could help this person. But wanting to help, while it is good, having a feeling of selfishness and having a sense of pride in helping, it destroys the punya that you would get by helping. If you feel pride when helping, your help would not grant any punya. Likewise, if you help out of ulterior motives, your help would not give any punya. That we see that the numerous charities going useless and not being able to save Karna. We see that in Mahabharata because although he literally gave anything and everything that people asked from him, he had an ulterior motive behind it. Unfortunately, he did not know that if you have an ulterior motive behind giving in charity, it would not help you in the end. But anyway, so Kani Krishna got very angry. He said, "How dare you ask me to do this? Do you know who I am? You might be the king of this place, but I am a servant of Bhagavan. I sing praises only of Bhagavan. I sing praises of Bhagavan, and those who do seva to Bhagavan, I praise them. Why should I praise you? You are after all a king. I have no need to praise you. And by behaving in this way to me, you are insulting me. You have insulted not only me, you have insulted my great preceptor also. You said, bring him here. What kind of behavior is this? This is unacceptable. I will never sing any praise for you." Kani Krishna spoke very harshly. The king got angry, naturally, as any king would get. And he said, "Okay, then do one thing. When your guru comes out, take him with you and leave this kingdom. Take your guru and leave this kingdom. Don't come back. This kingdom is mine. In my kingdom, it is my rule that works, not anything else. And if you are thinking that you should not obey my rules, then with due respect, leave this kingdom. I don't want to harm you. You say you are a servant of Bhagavan. I will never harm you. But leave this place. This is my kingdom. And only people who obey me should be there in this kingdom." The king said this and went away. Now, if Kani Krishna does not go, obviously the guards would drag him and the Alvar out. That is going to happen. So he went and informed the Alvar about the incident. The Alvar went to the temple. He said, "Hey Bhagavan, the great Vidwan, Kani Krishna, look at how he is addressing his disciple." He could have said, my disciple. But the Sanskrit verse in Divya Suri Charitam is very beautiful. Kani Krishna is addressed as a great scholar. Why is that so? Because he knows his priorities. He knows that the praise of Bhagavan is very great. Okay, you can praise Bhagavan all the time. Why can't you just say a praise to the king and let him go away? You can live in peace, right? Why do you unnecessarily create enemies? No, there is a nishtha. It is a pledge. It is a vow that they have taken that they would not praise anybody else. So they would sing praises of only Bhagavan. That is a focused way of worship. And that the king was trying to disturb it. Knowing the priorities correctly, even without me coming and telling him anything, Kani Krishna said, "I will not do it. I will not sing a praise of you." This pleased the Alvar. So he said, "He is a great scholar. He has understood your greatness. But he is now leaving the place in anger. He is angry and he is leaving the place. I am also going with him. So why don't you also come along?" The Alvar asked. Then the Alvar saw. Who is he asking? He is asking the Vigraha there in the temple. In the Vigraha there is Sheshasai. Sheshasai means he who is doing Shayana on Shesha. He is reclining on Adishesha. So seeing Bhagavan reclining on Shesha, the Alvar says, "You come along with us. You can lie down elsewhere. You bring Shesha also. Wherever we go, you come there. And then Shesha will become a bed for you and you can lie down there." What is he speaking? Do statues move? Do statues move? They are not supposed to move, right? But this one moved. This one moved. Several centuries later, during the life of Bhagavad Ramanuja, we see the story of another Vigraha moving, Sampat Kumara moving, when Bhagavad Ramanuja goes to Delhi and he talks to the Muslim invader. And the invader says, "Oh, if it is really your supreme being, then call him, let him come to you." And Bhagavad Ramanuja calls the Vigraha and the Vigraha moves and comes by itself to him. That happens. How does it happen? Is it not achetana? Is it not a non-living thing? How can a mere statue? What is a Vigraha? Vigraha is a statue. How can it move? What life does it have? We have lives. What does it have? No. When you keep a vigraha and do pratishtha yatha vidhi, there it becomes powerful. Some vigrahas are symbols. The word linga, for example, means symbol, right? When they say Shiva Linga, linga means symbol. Swami Vivekananda has explained this once. When people misinterpreted the word based on certain verses of Shiva Purana and tried to insult Shiva Bhakta, Swami Vivekananda clarified. Even the danda carried by sannyasis, it is called linga. Anyway, that aside, when it comes to Vishnu, when pratishtha is done, we do not call it a symbol of Bhagavan, because when it is done as per Vaishnava Agama, it is considered to be an avatara of Bhagavan itself. It is called Archavatara. It is said that Bhagavan decided to bless people in the form of vigrahas across different places. It is said that way in the scripture. So, Bhagavan is blessing people through the vigrahas. And when you speak to this vigraha, that to the one in Kanchi, Bhagavan decides to listen. Suddenly, the vigraha got up. It came to life. The Shesha also came to life. They started moving. They started following the Alvar. But that is not all. When Bhagavan Vishnu is going, the Vedas praise him. The Vedas say, Prajapatisharati garbhe antaha. There is Prajapati Brahma. If you go to Tiruvananthapuram, Anantapadmanabha Swami temple, which is unfortunately famous today for all the treasure vaults, but should actually be famous for Bhagavan himself. He is called Padmanabha Swami. Why? Ananta Padmanabha Swami. He is there doing Shayana on Shesha. But then there is a Nabhi Padma. Padma means lotus. Nabhi means the navel, right? In the stomach that you have. From there a lotus comes. From that lotus, on that lotus was born Brahmadeva. So, Brahma, and therefore all the devas created by him also follow wherever Vishnu goes. If Vishnu decides to leave a place, remember, Vishnu has Lakshmi in his Vakshasthala. Vishnu is leaving. Lakshmi is also leaving. All the other devatas would also leave the place. The kingdom entered a period of darkness. There was darkness everywhere. There was physical darkness. There was mental darkness. There was no happiness. Nothing was good. Everything looked negative. Everything looked negative. The king thought, what has suddenly happened? He did not realize that he initially did not realize that this is what is happening. But when he thought about it, if something extreme happens all of a sudden, then it should be the result of something sudden. Something should have happened just before all of this darkness began. What was that? He tried investigating and found out that the culprit is himself and not anybody else. Oh, it is my fault. Fortunately, this king did not enter into a state of ego and play a blame game, the way many politicians do. He realized his mistake and he decided to go and apologize. Maybe his wife also told him, what kind of sin have you committed? Do you know how great they are? He went and apologized to the Alvar and fell at his feet and sought forgiveness. The Alvar was very pleased. Why? Anybody who surrenders to you, you have to accept them. That is Shastra. You behaved that way with Kani Krishna. Why I will not come with you? Go and suffer. Then only you will know my greatness. Then only you will know Kani Krishna's greatness. Then only you will be taught a lesson. Alvar did not say that way. When a person surrenders, we have to accept the surrender. This is a great lesson taught by Sita in Ramayana. A very great lesson. Papanamma, Shubhanamma, Vadharhanam, Plavangama, Karyam Karunamaryena, Nakashinna Paradhyati, Sita tells Hanuman. Sita is there in Ashoka Vatika. There, Hanuman, who has come to say that Rama has won the battle, he asks for a boon. Sita asks him, what do you want to do? First tell me what boon you want. She does not want to give a boon like Dasharatha. Dasharatha first said, he told Kaikeyi, I will give you whatever boon you ask for. And years later, Kaikeyi asked for a boon that removed his life from him. But Sita Devi, being very intelligent and having learned from the bad example that had been set by her father-in-law, she asked Hanuman, what do you want? So Hanuman said, all of these Rakshasas who tormented you. Yes, there was Trijata, and here and there sometimes we have some good people. But the other Rakshasas were evil. They tormented you. I want to torment them back. Please give me permission for that. Hanuman is also so great. He is seeing Sita only now. He is the reason why Sita is being saved. He came, saw Sita, went back, informed Rama. That is why everything is happening. And when he came the last time, he did not ask Sita for permission to hit the Rakshasas, kill some of them. He did not, but he still did it. He literally set fire to the whole of Lanka. But this time, he is asking for her permission. Why? With Lakshmi Kataksha, whatever is done will definitely be proper. He will not have to worry later on. Oh no, I set fire to the entirety of Lanka. What will happen to Ashoka Vatika? Such a fear will never arise. You will neither get fear, nor get failure, nor get any kind of bad result after the success if you have Lakshmi Kataksha. So Hanuman asks Sita for that. But what does Sita say? Sita says, no, you should not. They have surrendered to me. Is there an explicit statement of surrender mentioned in Ramayana? No, it is not mentioned. But Sita still accepted it. Their state of surrender was understood by Sita and she accepted their surrender. So, Sita teaches Hanuman. She says, Karyam Karuna Maryana. The duty of a noble being. Arya is these days unfortunately interpreted in a racial way. But there it means a noble person. That is why even Hanuman, who literally had a tail, you cannot really classify him as a human. That Hanuman is also addressed as an Arya. So she tells him that it is the duty of a noble person to show compassion wherever applicable. That was applicable here as well. As Rama says, Abhayam sarva bhutebhyo dadamye tat vratam mama. When Vibhishana surrendered to Rama earlier, Rama said, I will definitely accept Vibhishana's surrender. Sakrideva prapannaya tavasmiti chayachate. Just once, you do properly, you come, you surrender. Just once, that is enough. Tava asmi, I am yours. Just declare that. Then I will grant abhaya. Abhayam sarva bhutebhyo dadamye tat vratam mama, said Rama. And the Alvar, he knows how Bhagavan behaves. He knows what is dharma, what is adharma. He thinks about Bhagavan all the time. Naturally, the Alvar would also behave in the same way. Therefore, he also immediately accepted the apology and he returned to Kanchi. When he returned to Kanchi, Bhagavan also returned to Kanchi. Bhagavan returned, Shesha returned, the prosperity returned, everything good started happening. The Alvar settled there in Kanchi. He would sing praises of Bhagavan every now and then. He composed some verses in Tamil, the part of Divya Prabandham that is composed by Tirumalizai Alvar. There, he spent a lot of time performing tapasya. It is said in Divya Sori Charita that he spent 100 more years that way in Kanchipuram, behaving in this manner. So it is not just that he came back. He could have said, I forgive you. The king could have gone back. And the Alvar could have thought, I have left this place. I will not come back. You go back, you be happy. But he did not do it. He returned. Why did the Alvar return? It was because of his affinity to Bhagavan at Kanchi. He had been performing seva to Bhagavan there. What do you mean by affinity to Bhagavan at Kanchi? Yachyakinchit jagatyasmin drishyate shruyate piva antar bahishya tatsarvam vyapya narayana sthitah. That is what the Veda says. Then how do you say that Antarbahishya tatsarvam vyapya, he who is inside and outside of everything and therefore spread everywhere. We call it vibhutva. Vibhutvam means the property of being omnipresent. So Bhagavan is omnipresent. The omnipresent Bhagavan, how does it matter where you worship him from? You don't have to worship him from Kanchi. You can worship him from Kashi also. You can worship him from Kashmir also. Who is going to stop you? But the Alvar returned. And we say it is out of bhakti towards Bhagavan, Devaraja at Kanchi. Why do we have to say that? We say that it is not wrong or even a sign of ignorance to show a greater level of affinity to one form of Bhagavan. He came as Rama in Treta Yuga. Later he came as Krishna. If I worship only Rama and not Krishna, will I be evil? No. If I worship only Krishna and not Rama, will I be evil? No. Why? It's the same Bhagavan. As long as I don't declare, oh, Krishna is very inferior, he is hopeless. Or if I say Rama is so inferior, he is hopeless. That would be an apachara. So knowing that he is the same Bhagavan, not some greater form or lesser form or anything. It is not as though Bhagavan at Kanchi is superior to Bhagavan everywhere else. That is not so. Bhagavan is Bhagavan. He is the same everywhere. Yet, there is a level of affinity developed towards one particular form of Bhagavan. Why do people do that? People do that. It is not wrong. And people do that because it is a focused form of worship. So for people to be able to imagine and visualize Bhagavan, which form of Bhagavan would you like to visualize? If I keep in my head 1008 different forms of Bhagavan, will I be able to visualize all of them at once? No. Will I be able to perform focused meditation on one of them? Will I be able to contemplate on one of them properly? No. Every now and then, if it keeps changing, then I would not be able to contemplate with focus. So, for focused mental contemplation on Bhagavan, we have to take a form of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is Shubha and Ashraya, right? That is the nature of Bhagavad Vigraha. It is Shubhashraya. It is auspicious and it is worthy of being approached to. So, when we go and focus our worship on one kind, or not just in terms of worship, even in terms of liking, if I say I like this form of Bhagavan more than that form of Bhagavan, that is not wrong. That is a choice that we have. That is a choice that we have been given by Bhagavan himself. That is why he came in so many different forms, not just human. He came as Narasimha, he came as Varaha, he came as Kurma, he came as Matsya. He takes so many different forms. That means that he is not bound by any form. At the same time, all of the forms that are taken by him are Shuddha Sattva in nature, as discussed by us a few classes back. And therefore, all of them are worthy of worship. When we perform focused worship to any one particular form, there is absolutely nothing wrong in that. The Alvar was fully aware. He never believed that Kanchi Bhagavan is superior to some Tirupati Bhagavan or Sri Rangam Bhagavan or whatever. He knows that Bhagavan is Bhagavan everywhere. He knows that Bhagavan is everywhere also. He understands all the concepts perfectly. Yet he shows some extra affinity. He decides to return to Kanchi. And he composes more verses there praising Bhagavan. And then he spends a considerable number of years, several decades, in Kanchi, mentioned as 100 years he spends in Kanchi. Is there any question so far?
We have given the access to unmute yourself. Kindly unmute and ask the questions if there is any.
No, sir, no doubt.
As of now, there is no questions. We can continue.
Okay. So let us see just a little more of what we meant when we said all the devatas followed, Bhagavan followed. I said Bhagavan left Kanchi. And later I said Bhagavan is omnipresent. Is it not contradicting? If you say that Bhagavan is omnipresent, then why should there be any problem? What do you mean by Bhagavan left Kanchi? We say Lakshmi Devi left the Vakshasthala of Vishnu. He suffered a lot. He searched for her in 52 different places. Finally found her in Kolhapur in Maharashtra. It was called Karavirapuram back then. We say all of that in Venkatachala Mahatmyam. But how is it possible? Isn't Bhagavan omnipresent? How can an omnipresent Bhagavan leave a place? There is one easy way to answer it. The easiest way is to say that his grace left the place. When you say he left, it means his grace left the place. His grace left. Therefore, the grace of all the other devatas also left. He is Sarva Shariraka. Therefore, when he leaves, everything else also leaves. That is how we understand. But that is a way to explain it in a metaphorical sense, right? When we say Bhagavan left and we interpret it as his grace left the place, that means the word Bhagavan is being used to refer to Bhagavan's grace. That becomes metaphorical. Is there a way to literally interpret this and still make it seem right? Given that he is omnipresent, he is everywhere. Omnipresent means what? He is everywhere. He is everywhere. That Bhagavan who is everywhere, how would you say that he left the place? That is very simple. Bhagavan takes a Shuddha Sattva Swarupa, correct? We said there is something called Avatara. We mentioned Archa Avatara, which is the Vigraha. What do you understand by Avatara? Like, for example, no, I'm not going to explain the concept of Avatara in detail, but we will see some examples. When he came as Rama, for example, who was Rama? In Balakanda, Valmiki says the Devatas went to Vishnu. They requested him to save them from Ravana's atrocities. Vishnu said, don't worry, I will be born as Dasharatha's son. And he was born as Dasharatha's son. If Dasharatha's son is Bhagavan, then what about everybody else? And remember this, it is not just in Balakanda. In subsequent Kandas also, it is established that Rama is the supreme being. So modern narratives which say that he was just a human can be happily discarded, because if we are to believe in the Ramayana, it says he is indeed Bhagavan in the form of an ordinary human. But he has come as Bhagavan. We say he is in the form of an ordinary human. And we also say he is everywhere. If he is everywhere, how can you restrict his form to that of a human? I hope the question is understood. The answer is that although he is everywhere, he is existing everywhere, but he does not exist everywhere in a form that is perceivable to us. That is perceivable. What do we mean by perceivable? I have to be able to see or hear or feel. I look around. I see a curtain behind me. I see wall. I see door. I don't see Bhagavan. Do I feel him? Do I feel his presence? I am not a great saint. I'm an ordinary human being. What do you mean by feeling Bhagavan's presence? I don't even understand that. I look around, I don't see any. I try listening to the voice of Bhagavan, I don't hear any. Then what? But you say he is everywhere. The Vedas have said he is everywhere. He is everywhere, but I am not able to feel him. So, when he is omnipresent, although he is omnipresent, he cannot be felt everywhere. That is the reason why he takes perceivable forms to give blessings to us. Once in every long period of time, he takes what we call as avatara, as mentioned in the scripture. Why do we say long period of time? It is a long period of time because when we look at Rama and Krishna and so on, where he lives entire lives, there is a considerable gap between them. But he does appear every now and then. When devotees pray to him, we hear that Bhagavan himself came, he ate food. Bhagavan himself came, he gave blessings and went away. Bhagavan gave his own ornaments and vanished, and then the saint got punished by the king for stealing the temple property. All of those stories we listen, right? All such stories exist. But those are when he takes perceivable forms for us so that we realize that he is there. So when Krishna says, when Krishna talks about the reason for taking avatars, what does he say? He says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam, dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. There, under paritranaya sadhunam, Bhagavad Ramanuja in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita has very beautifully explained. It is not just about protecting sadhus from evil beings, evil asuras like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. It is also about saving them. Saving whom? Saving the sadhus. Which sadhus? Those who are continuously focused in worship of Bhagavan. For them, what is life? You go and ask them, what is your life? What do you value as your life? They will say, Bhagavan is my life. Bhagavan is everything for me. Those kinds of people. How do you save them then? By helping them to perceive you. That out of supreme compassion, Bhagavan takes avatara and lets such devotees and saints to perceive him, to feel his presence. That is a blessing that he gives. So the concept of taking avatara, it is there in Vedas also. Some people say it is not mentioned in the Vedas, but it is there in the Vedas. That distinguishes us from, let us say, the Abrahamic religion of Islam, where it asks, if he is supreme, how can you confine him to a form? We have an answer to that. We say he is everywhere. They don't even say he is everywhere. They say his influence is everywhere. We say, even if you understand it as he is everywhere, there is no problem because he takes a perceivable form. And why does he take that perceivable form? So that we are able to feel his presence. So that is an act of supreme compassion. That is why Bhagavan takes avatara. And when that avatara kala is also over, then how do you find Bhagavan? Rama is not currently roaming. Oh, even when Rama was there, he was there in Ayodhya, then he was there in Lanka, he was there in some forest. Let us assume I was living somewhere in Northeast India. Would I have been able to see Rama? No, in the story of Rama's travels, Northeast India is not mentioned anywhere. Maybe I should have traveled to Ayodhya. It says all the kings traveled. Maybe I was very poor, it was not possible for me to travel. Then what? Bhagavan with supreme compassion said, it is okay if you have not been able to see me during the time of my avatara because your karma did not let you to have that benefit. You can still worship me in the form of vigrahas and get the same phala. That is what the Alvar was doing. And that is what most of us also do. When we pray to Bhagavan, we are not praying to an ordinary stone, right? We are praying to Bhagavan. And we know that when we pray to him, he listens and he grants all our dharmic wishes. How do we know that? The scriptures have said so. That is what we understand. So, the scriptures have said that Bhagavan does help us even in the form of vigrahas. That worship of Bhagavan, worship and seva to Bhagavad Vigraha is what the Alvar did. Therefore, he did not see any difference between the non-living shape that we see in the temple and the Supreme Bhagavan. And therefore, he was able to talk to Bhagavan. He was able to say, "Hey Bhagavan, please come with me. I am leaving this place. You also come with me, because I want you to be there with me wherever I go." So he spoke to the Vigraha as though it were a person. Why was he able to do that? How was he able to do that? Yes, Bhagavan is everywhere, but it is in this form that Bhagavan was pleasing the Alvar, and therefore Alvar asked him that way. And Bhagavan also followed him. So I hope this clarifies the purpose of avatars and the purpose of Vigraha Puja. If there is any doubt in this, feel free to let me know. Maybe I should have made a separate slide for that. I'm sorry, I did not. So if there is any doubt, please let me know. If there is no doubt or question, and if everything is clear, we can conclude the session.
Jai Shri Narayan Swami. I have a doubt actually.
Yes.
When we say that Bhagavan left Kanchi, but Kanchi has multiple Devadeshas, more than 10 actually, as I remember. So all of the Bhagavan left or a particular Devadesh Bhagavan left?
Firstly,
Ji.
Kanchi has multiple Divya Deshas. Yes. Did Bhagavan of every single Divya Desha leave? The answer is yes and no. How do we say both yes and no? Because the Alvar asked Bhagavan, who was Sheshashai, right? The Alvar asked Bhagavan, who was Sheshashai. He was
Yes.
living here one particular temple, doing puja to one particular Vigraha of Bhagavan. What about all the other temples at Kanchi? They are also there. But the Alvar was focusing on one. The concept is that he is focusing on one Vigraha, but the person he is addressing is Bhagavan himself, and it is the same Bhagavan who is there in all the other temples as well. So this Bhagavan stood up and followed the Alvar. The other Bhagavans of Kanchi, other Bhagavans meaning the same Bhagavan in the other forms, do you think he would have stayed back and continued to giving blessings, continued to give blessings to the king and the kingdom? Do you really think he would have done that?
Not exactly.
So that gives you the answer.
That means all of the Vigrahas did not leave physically, but they left the grace, the left.
Yes. See, we should remember this is the same Alvar. When Poigai Alvar met him, do you remember? We said when Poigai Alvar met him, this is the fourth Alvar. Poigai Alvar is the first Alvar.
First one.
Now, Bhargaviya, he helped Poigai Alvar to get the vision of Bhagavan of all the 108 Divya Deshas. This is mentioned very clearly in the Charita. He had the ability to summon Bhagavan from 108 places. So, summoning him from one place or a few places in Kanchi is not a big deal for him. So we are not saying that the Alvar was incapable of removing Bhagavan. And of course, when we say summoning Bhagavan or removing Bhagavan, it is with Bhakti Bhava that he does, right? In reality, it is not Alvar who takes Bhagavan away. It is Bhagavan who decides to come with him. So that Sneha Purva Manudhyanam Bhakti Riti Vidiyate. If it is void of that sneha, there is no bhakti. And it is with that bhakti that Alvar told Bhagavan. When he said, "You also come with me," that was also out of devotion. And Bhagavan is always bound by bhakti. He is not bound by anything else, but he is bound by bhakti. Why? When you say he is bound by bhakti, it means he is supremely compassionate, and therefore, being Ashrita Vatsala, he being Apara Karunika, he shows his compassion and showers his blessings on his devotees. Therefore, when the Alvar said, "Come with me," Bhagavan thought this would be a nice opportunity to teach the king a lesson, so that the king also becomes a dharmika and the king also surrenders to the Alvar. Why? Because his wife is my devotee. His wife is my devotee. Therefore, I want her husband also. The Shastras are very tricky. Although the Shastras say that the wife will not get the sins of the husband, the Shastras say at one place that she will get the same gati as the husband. If Bhagavan is really blessing the husband, he would bless the wife along with the husband. And if he has already blessed the wife and the husband is committing Bhagavata Apachara, then the husband will have to be redeemed. How do you redeem a person who has committed Bhagavata Apachara? There is only one solution. There
You
is only
go,
one way out of Bhagavata Apachara. You go to the Bhagavata and say, "I am sorry," you surrender to him.
yeah, you fall at the Bhagavata's feet, the particular one who you committed apachara towards.
And that is exactly what the king did. Would he have done it had Bhagavan stayed there? He wouldn't have.
Uh,
This
right.
this one story we can discuss for 6 hours also. There is so much more.
Yes.
But I believe we are already past the time. So,
I got some. Dhanyavad.
anything else?
No, no, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Then let us conclude. श्रीवत्सवं शकलशोदधि कौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघव गुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्यावाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामनमध्यमामस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणायमेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये कवितार्किकसिंहाय कल्याणगुणशालिने श्रीमते वेङ्कटेशाय वेदान्तगुरवे नमः. Thank you for attending.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session. We shall meet you everyone tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thank you.